Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. The White House Council on Economic Affairs just released a report finding that the federal government's swift response to the national emergency through the CARES Act, the stimulus package, helped soften the economic blow the pandemic dealt to American families. And ensure that you watch this video until the end, because I'm going to tell you how the acting chair of the Council of Economic Affairs stated that President Trump may send the next round of stimulus checks through an executive order. And Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin just went on CNBC calling for more financial support for small businesses. I wish he would have said it through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance Program for all legitimate small business applicants through S.4227. The bill, proposed by Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada, and Republican John Cornyn from Texas, calling for the mandate to force the Small Business Administration to disperse the full $10,000 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance to all legitimate small business applicants. But he didn't. He talked about that he wants Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and the rest of Congress to come together and come back to the table to work on the next disaster relief package through another round of Paycheck Protection Program. And the economic impact payments, of course, direct payments, the second round of stimulus checks, and everything else, and money for kids, money for schools. He was emphasizing that. Jim Cramer interviewed him on CNBC this morning, and he pressed him, and he asked Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Home Depot and Walmart are announcing explosive numbers through the pandemic. Nonetheless, small businesses, they're not enjoying the same success. As I've told you on previous videos, all these lawmakers care about are these public companies that line their pockets and lobby them to go ahead and pass legislation. If the stock market was crashing as it was in February and March, it would come to an agreement like that. You'd already have the stimulus check in your pockets. Faster you could say Dormammu. Now, he talked about, again, there's a big gap. There's two tiers of the economy. This is what Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin stated. There's Home Depot and all these companies that are enjoying explosive growth due to the pandemic, such as Home Depot, Walmart, Amazon, etc. Nonetheless, small businesses, they need this cash. And Jim Cramer asked him, what about cash for small business? Nonetheless, he doesn't mention the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That's why I'm saying, watch these videos into the end, because I'll keep mentioning it. Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance Update, the grant update that I always write in the title, so we can get the word out, because we have to do everything we can to ensure that broadcasters, journalists, everybody puts it out in the open. Why not ensure that the Small Business Administration disperses the full $10,000 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance to all legitimate small businesses? They keep on talking about Paycheck Protection Program, and I told you why. There's no caps on Paycheck Protection Program, so lawmakers and public officials can return favors to all these big organizations that get loans for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars nonetheless. But they use the Small Business Administration to directly disperse $1,000 per employee, and for micro businesses, for independent contractors, sole proprietors, capping loans at $150,000. So they have no interest in mentioning this program, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we have to continue to push on. Now, in terms of the report that the White House Council on Economic Affairs released, Dr. Tyler Goodman, the acting chairman of the CEA, stated that 87% of lower income households either used or plan to use the money from the economic impact payment, from direct payments, from the stimulus checks on essential goods. Duh, you've already exhausted those funds. You've told me several times in the comment section. I always read them, and I know that you've used them for essential items, and you need more. Something that came as of consequence, not because of any actions that you took. It is not your fault that they had to shut down the government, or that you're suffering through this economic crisis and you're not making what they want you to contribute towards the growth of this economy by not being able to work because of the danger out there. You got an invisible psychopath that is out there taking people out, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they keep talking about get back to work. Congress needs to get back to work, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Goodman, he continued on by stating that 1/5 of households use money from the economic impact payments, the stimulus checks, and enhanced unemployment insurance. That was the $600 a week boost that the federal government was funding through July 31st in order to spend it on essential items. And the Walmart CEO, he did go on to announce today that money that people spent from the economic impact payments and enhanced unemployment insurance from the stimulus actually helped boost sales of their products, ladies and gentlemen. So it's working. Why do they keep dragging their feet? Why do they keep dragging their feet in terms of doing this? Dr. Goodman continued on by stating that in an absence of coming together to pass a comprehensive deal that has all the goodies that everybody wants, money for schools, money for vaccines, contact tracing, etc., the White House is willing to go in on a narrower deal, focusing on 4 provisions: economic impact payments, the next round of stimulus checks, enhanced unemployment insurance, ideally at the $600 mark, $600 a week, as the federal government was paying through July 31st. Nonetheless, as you know, the president passed an executive order to have the federal government fund a weekly payment of $300 a week to states. And Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin did state that 19 states have already signed up, in one way or the other, are already engaging with the federal government in order to start to send out those payments as promptly as possible. He stated, I believe it was 4 states that have already been approved, 4 or 5 states that have already been approved. A few others have applied for the program, and the other ones are in the processing stages. Dr. Tyler Goodman also stated that the White House, on the more narrow deal that I was just discussing a couple of minutes ago, the White House would include, again, the second stimulus check, the enhanced unemployment insurance, another round of paycheck protection program, and employee retention credits and hiring credits, ladies and gentlemen. Also, Becky Quick from CNBC pressed him in regards to what the GOP is pushing for, which is basically liability protection for businesses. And this is coming from a lobbying effort. The Chamber of Commerce has been heavily lobbying lawmakers and other organizations in order for them to push this through, the business liability protection. Dr. Goodman stated on CNBC that he's willing to compromise, that the White House is willing to compromise in terms of business liability protection. By how? Not completely removing liability from a business that could potentially encounter damages due to the virus, but limiting the excess liability for which a business may have to be accountable. So they are aiming to compromise in that particular respect. And he stated, echoing what I said yesterday, he's puzzled how Congress can reconvene to debate and talk about ratifying subsidies for the Postal Service, $25 billion for the Postal Service, and not come back to the table to talk about disaster relief that goes out to the American people. Again, I wish they would have talked about the economic injury disaster loan, and we have to will that they talk about the economic injury disaster loan advance program. By again, watching this video until the end, so you too can get it out to as many people as possible. And we call for our small businesses, because even people who are not owners of small businesses employ 60.6 million people, U.S. workers. Half of the U.S. workforce, 47.1% to be exact. So if you work for a small business and that small business isn't able to stay afloat throughout this entire economic crisis, then your job is on the line, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. There are certain small businesses with which you operate that give you the deals that you want that you don't get from these public companies, ladies and gentlemen. You have built relationships with the owners and the employees of these organizations, ladies and gentlemen, so they need as much support as possible. And you probably use people that operate in the gig economy, that they perform services for you, let's say on Fiverr and Upwork and all these other organizations that cater to independent contractors, and you want to ensure to give them the support. And this is what the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance Program does for these organizations and for these businesses. Dr. Tyler Goodman also went on to talk about how the White House is supporting enhanced unemployment insurance, but in a way, he got pretty technical. He went Nobel Prize level economist on me, but this is what he wrote. This is what he said exactly, and then I'll tell you what he means. that the White House is willing to support enhanced unemployment insurance in a way that doesn't impose unduly high implicit marginal tax rates on the return to work. So he basically just said he doesn't want it to disincentivize people from getting back to work and paying taxes through their jobs. Okay? He just doesn't want it to stop, that the White House wants to ensure that enhanced unemployment insurance goes out there, but not in a way that disincentivizes people from getting back to work. Which studies have found does not do that. That actually when people exhaust their unemployment insurance, they are not as encouraged to go ahead and get back to work, ladies and gentlemen. And the other thing that I want to note, that is, if people are making more money on enhanced unemployment insurance than they do at their jobs, that's a big problem. People are not getting paid enough money. Yesterday, Senator Bernie Sanders, probably the only person that specifically talked about issues that the Biden and Harris campaign plans to package on its platform, that it's calling for $15 an hour minimum wage. Studies have found that minimum wage, if it kept up with productivity and inflation, would be at over $20 at this particular moment in time. So that's another problem beyond the scope of this particular video nonetheless, but that's where we're at. The White House is calling out Democrats, Congress, to come together, come back to the table, and work on these specific provisions. Money out to the American people. Where are the Democrats at, ladies and gentlemen? At the very least, they're willing to go piecemeal on subsidies for the Postal Service. But listen, they're asking for more money. I'm not completely satisfied with the White House's stance because they're calling for $1,200 stimulus checks, $2,400 for a married couple, $500 per dependent, amounting to $3,400 for a family of 4. What's up with $6,000 for a family of 5 as per the HEROES Act? Where you at, Trump? Why doesn't Nancy Pelosi propose a standalone bill calling for $6,000 publicly? And then we'll see where we're at. Call them out of their bluff. Get as much money as you can. If you can go for the $2,000 recurring payments, which I did not hear Senator Bernie Sanders talk about yesterday. Andrew Yang was a commentator on CNN, and he wasn't talking about his plan for $1,000 a month, and that's the only thing that made him relevant. So when he talks the DNC, he better start talking about UBI, at the very least $1,000 a month, because that's what many of you need. I know that as per the CNBC and Change Research poll released a couple of months ago, a whopping 74% of swing state voters, where your vote counts, the states that are up for grabs for any presidential candidate, they have to win these states in order to become president, in order to be elected president. 74% of swing state voters on both parties wanted recurring direct payments. Recurring direct payments, as per what Senator Bernie Sanders and what Senator Kamala Harris proposed through their act, calling for $2,000 per family member, up to $10,000 a month, retroactive, hitting back. Get them for as much as you can, ladies and gentlemen. So, today, Politico will interview Nancy Pelosi live at 1:30 p.m. EST. So here's what I want you to do. They have a form where you can go ahead and register to go ahead and watch this interview. In that form, there is a field which reads, what would you like the interviewer to ask the guest? You go to pbconvention.dnc.splashthat.com. Visit that page. Go ahead and fill out the form and ask the interviewer to ask Speaker Pelosi how can she reconvene the House to discuss subsidies for the Postal Service, and she can't work on a standalone bill to send out money to the American people through economic impact payments, to direct payments, and EIDL advances that are helping the smallest of the smallest businesses, micro businesses with 10 employees or less. Nobody's discussing it. She should be discussing it. She should be coming to the table. Let's do standalone. Like, if I was her, in her shoes, I know she probably doesn't care about it. Perhaps she's getting paid off not to do it. I'll step up to the White House. What's up? All right, cool. You want us to go standalone? $600 a week on enhanced unemployment insurance. Let's do it. $600 a week, and publicly state it. Make the talks public, and let's see what they're going to come out and say, what they're talking about. They want to continue with the $300 a week that they passed with the executive order. And Dr. Goodman, he also stated during the interview, again, I just brought it up, that in absence of any deal, either the narrowly focused deal or a comprehensive package with all the goodies and all the sprockets and cogs that everybody wants in play, that the White House will continue to explore ways to use executive actions in order to get these provisions passed. So you could potentially see an executive order for another round of stimulus checks. You never know. I mean, in my particular, listen, this is the richest and most powerful country on the planet. The greatest democratic experiment known to man, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't give a damn where the hell you take the money from. Just get the monetary ammunition out to the American people, which constitute 70% of GDP, and small businesses, which constitute 99.9% of all businesses employing 60.6 million U.S. workers, half of the U.S. workforce, so we can save this country. Because you're not going to do it. President Trump is not going to save this country. Nancy Pelosi is not going to save this country. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is not going to save this country. Senator Chuck Schumer is not going to save this country. We are, ladies and gentlemen, you are, ladies and gentlemen, the American people, for the people, by the people. We are the ones that work. You're the one that get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. You get up. You don't go on summer recess anytime you feel like it just because it's scheduled. Especially through these times when your business is going under and there's a threat to your ability, to your capacity to feed your families. It's not about white or blue. It's about red, white, and blue, ladies and gentlemen. That's what these people have to get through their thick skulls. Everybody, everyone from the president to the speaker, all of them come out your pockets. They're acting like it's their money, as if it's their money. And to a certain respect, it may be their money, because if they don't move in a way that lobbyists and these public organizations, they don't benefit, and I guess they don't get paid, ladies and gentlemen. But we're not trying to have that. We cannot continue to have that. That's why I tell you, subscribe to this channel. Watch these videos until the end, because I will stop at nothing until each and every one of you is funded with all the monetary tools, every single instrument that you require to save this country, because we're the only ones that are going to do it. Rise with me, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, mobilize, and go ahead and jump on that line today. PB Convention, DNC.splashthat.com. And let her know. How dare you? Call the House back into session to vote for subsidies for the Postal Service and nothing for the American people. What's up with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance Program? What's up with S.4227? Go ahead and write all that right in the field that's marked. What question do you have for the panelists that you'd like to ask? Find out why they won't come standalone or piecemeal, whatever the hell they want to call it, narrowly focused in terms of money for the American people, money that you need to save this country, because that's the bottom line. It is to feed your families. It is for you to continue your business, to keep your employees on payroll. It's to do all that. But without you having the ability to do any of that, you can't feed your families. You can't keep your business afloat. If you can't keep your workers employed, this country, this economy is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments in the comments section below. Watch this video right here for continued economic injury, disaster loan, and stimulus coverage. Click the like button if you like the video. Click the subscribe button to stay on top of my findings. I mobilize like other people will not, and I report what other people will not, to ensure that you get everything for which you are eligible to save your families, to save your businesses, to save your employees, to save this country, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America and everybody else on this planet. Talk soon.